Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining us here in the newsroom. I'm Yoo Hye. In the next half hour or so, we'll be bringing you the behind-the-scenes look on how we deliver the news from our own hands to your living room, and also hear from our reporters on some of the stories they've been covering throughout this week. In the newsroom begins right now. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon. Hi.
It's the second week of January. How is everyone holding up?
Oh my God, I can't believe it's second week already. It just feels like yesterday we did our New Year's special and time just flies.
And it's like so cold these days, you know, another cold
really
snap
cold.
that's come over here, right?
Yeah, I don't know when it's going to end. All right, well, one of the news items that really topped the headlines this week, the second week of January, is of course the developments that have been unfolding at the presidential transition team. And President-elect Park Geun-hye, she's already appointed the heads and leaders of her dream team, and the 50-day mission has officially begun. And we have until the inauguration day, which is February 25th. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, they just, officially kicked off their transition team on Monday, and, we've been covering a lot of stories on them. So I think all eyes are on her team right now.
Right, and with that in mind, we've been, reporters have been delving into what sort of the pledges were. I mean, looking back on Park Geun-hye's pledge, and also how the transition team and herself is trying to plan ahead to live up to the campaign pledges. And one of them, of course, is the welfare policy. I mean, personally, I'm very interested in how this is going to pan out. And you've done an in-depth report on that, Myung-kil. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's right. And as you know, like this year, it was the first year in which, of course, the budget was passed last week. And as everybody knows that it is the biggest budget, which amounts to like a third of the total budget. And, it's the biggest welfare funding project that's done in Korea's history.
Out in the array of benefits.
So the three most noticeable welfare benefits are free childcare service and the college tuition fees and increase in soldier salaries. Parents can choose to receive money for sending their children to daycare centers or get cash benefits for raising their children at home. Couples with a newborn will be able to receive up to $370 a month in childcare expenditures or opt for $188 in child rearing expenses. Regardless of how many children there are in a family, parents will receive support for each child. Next, college tuition fees will be gradually funded over the next 3 years. Students in the bottom 20% income bracket will be eligible to receive more than $4,000 per semester, and students from the bottom 40 to 70% range will see their tuition burdens halved. And some good news for young Korean men fulfilling their military service. Their salaries will increase by 20% starting this year for all ranks. Sergeants will receive $122 a month, up from $101, and privates will receive $92, up from $77.
I think it's about time Korea is really moving forward to the next level. Historically, if we look at all the developed nations, welfare has been a key issue in many European countries, and I think the Korean citizens really wanted to see that change, especially with this administration coming in.
And I think it's also a good time because yesterday there was a report by the OECD saying among the total OECD members, Korea has the lowest rate of actually funding the welfare programs compared to its GDP itself. It was like around little over 1%. So. 1%, so that is quite low. So I think there will be major good changes, although there are a lot of concerns too.
But we've heard that Park Camp is trying to expand the welfare budget without increasing the taxes.
True.
I mean, which is also good news. But is this feasible?
Yes. I've talked to some of the experts, and they say since the transition team hasn't been fully inaugurated yet. They don't have a concrete plan towards how they will actually execute how they will accumulate this welfare program funding. But they say there are some other initiatives such as like reduce the cuts on non-taxable objects. They could sort of increase the income and corporate taxes in which the current Myung-kil administration actually cut. So that's another one. So I mean there are other various ways, but you know the experts say we would have to like keep continuing like sort of ponder about how we can sort of resolve this issue of, you know, actually getting the needed funds, you know, the funding of the welfare expenditures. So.
Yeah.
And I hear that you were out in the fields at somewhere at a childcare center and you were trying to do some stand-up, but everyone around you somehow bursted into laughter because of you.
Yes, that is true. I didn't know how to like do my stand-up, so I tried 3 versions, like one sitting with the children around, one with like holding a child. 동물원 그릴까요? 자기 좋아하는 거 그릴까? 엄마 아빠 그리자. 엄마 아빠랑 재밌게 그려. Starting in March, parents who send their children aged 5 and under to daycare centers will be able to pay their expenses with cards like this one, which are being provided by the government. Starting in March, Korean parents who send their children aged 5 and under to daycare centers will be able to pay with expenses. Korean parents sending their children. 잠깐만. 미안해. 빠빨 때문에. 불편해? With cards like this one, which are being provided by the government. 나 웃을 뻔했어. Starting in March, Korean parents who send their children aged 5 and under to daycare centers will be able to pay their expenses with cards like this one, which are being provided by the government. It was a good experience. Had fun.
Personally,
at the end of the
out
day.
of the 3 versions, which one did you like the most?
I went for the last one because they said, you know, since I had to have the interview and then the stand-up together, you know, I couldn't have both shots, you know, just sitting on a table. So I took the last one, which I just walked normally around the kids. But the funny thing, they're all looking at me. So yeah, but it was fun.
Good job for trying something new.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully next time
You'll be able to carry a baby under your
that could work
Yeah.
out well. But yeah, within the next 2 weeks, I hear that Park Geun-hye is likely to name her prime minister, and we obviously will be keeping a close eye on how her team and herself will be trying to map out the future of Korea for the next 5 years. Certainly we'll be keeping an eye on that. And another news item that caught our attention throughout this week is, of course, the power alert in the nation, largely due to the unexpected cold weather that we are experiencing these days.
Oh my God, it's so cold.
Exactly, it's very, very cold, and the demand for electricity is record highs in recent weeks. So, Seung-ha, what is the government trying to do, handle this situation?
Yes, in fact, the Korean government has come up with a number of measures, and this morning, the government has staged a nationwide power blackout drill. So I was at the Korea Power Exchange for a live connection for the 10 a.m. newscast.
And with electricity demand hitting record highs in recent weeks due to the colder than usual temperatures, a nationwide blackout simulation drill has just begun just a few minutes ago to prepare for possible power outage. We now connect live to our Heo Seung-ha, who is standing by at the Korea Power Exchange. So, Seung-ha, what's happening there now?
Hi, Dan. The Korea Power Exchange has just issued a code orange power alert warning, which goes into effect when the nation's power reserves have fallen below the 2 million kilowatt level. However, as we know, this is only a drill. Sirens rang few minutes ago at 10 a.m., and at that point, households, businesses, offices, and factories were asked to voluntarily turn off their lights and any items that use electricity for a total of 20 minutes. Some 10,000 public buildings across the country are also being required to stop using electricity, and some 500 of them have to run emergency power generators. So after the 20-minute drill, the officials said there was a saving up to 7.7 million kilowatts.
Right.
I think
that
that's
means
a lot
of
of
people
energy.
did take part.
Yes, that's right. So they really appreciate the public's efforts.
And this is the first time it's happened this winter, is it?
This is the first time this winter. The first one was in last summer. So that was the very first drill in this country.
So how did the live connection go?
It was my very first time connecting live.
You did a good job. I saw you.
Yeah, I saw it
Thank you so much. I was really nervous,
calmly.
but when it started airing, I tried to keep myself really calm. So I think it went well without any big mistakes. So. 선배 인터뷰 섭외했어요. 지금처럼 이렇게 단계도 다 있었고 단계별로 매뉴얼은 있었던 거죠? 일반인들이 가정이나 사무실에서 좀 쉽게 실천할 수 있는 절약 요령이 있을까요? 오늘 훈련 취지에 대해서 좀 설명해 주세요.
예, 오늘은 겨울철 전전대비 위기대응훈련을
공공기관의 비상발전기 가동 준비를 발전기들의 상태와 기동 시 정시간 소요되는
그러니까 10시 되면 영이 계속 있는 거죠? 네, 연결됩니다.
예, 보고하겠습니다. 사무실장님, 정부기관 및 전력유관기관의 훈련 소집경보 경계 단계를 10시부로 항고 완료하였습니다.
The Korea Power Exchange has just issued a code orange power. People living in the Songdo district just north of the Han River should be aware.
불편함을 마다않고 적극적으로 참여해 주셔서 오늘 훈련은 약 한 770만 킬로와트 정도의 전력 수요를 절감하는 성과를 보여주셨습니다.
So how about other measures?
Oh yeah, from starting this Monday, the government started to monitor the room temperatures of certain buildings. So for those with high energy consumption, they have to keep the room temperatures below 20 degrees Celsius.
Is that too cold? Is it just me?
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
cold. That's why I'm wearing so many
cool.
layers.
I know I can. I can't show you, but there's something inside. Anyways, but for public buildings, it's even lower. It's 18 degrees Celsius. So yeah, people have to brave the cold even inside the room.
So if they do not, if they go against this rule, then what's going to happen to them?
So for the first time, just a warning will be issued, but for the second time, they will be imposed to fines of up to 3 million won. That's roughly 2.8 thousand US dollars. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
I see, and it's going to exert upward pressure on the consumer price, I'm sure, but it might rein in and try to prevent people from using too much electricity. And if all of us could do something about this, I mean, personally, you talked about layers, wearing layers. Any other ideas?
Maybe we can plug out the constants when we're not using it, because that can save a lot of energy too.
Oh, I'm sure, right.
And you don't have to turn on the heat all throughout the day. You can just like heat up your rooms or like your house, and then the rooms that you're not using, you can turn off the heat and just.
Right, and I hear that check for leaks where the heat is slipping out of the house, and also manage blinds and curtains for maximum heat efficiency. I wrote this down to share with you guys. Well, one other way is to travel somewhere warm and hot, like our honey did. I mean, share with us. Take us somewhere warm and hot so that we know.
So I just came back from the Middle East. I went to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. While everybody was freezing in Korea,
I can feel the heat right now. Saudi Arabia.
And it was actually during the winter months in the Middle East also. So for them, it was considered very cool. I was there to cover a new phenomenon of Korean contractors who are doing so well in the Middle East, especially in the plant industry. The tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, is primarily constructed by Samsung C&T. But Korean engineering companies are now shifting their focus from building skyscrapers to power plants.
In an engineering news record report for 2011, Korea ranked #1 in the Middle East market share for all construction projects, including plant projects.
180 kilometers south of the UAE capital Abu Dhabi lies the Shah gas field, and the gas power plant is worth more than $7 billion US, and a Korean company is playing an integral role in building the plant.
Every contractor can come up with good project management, but what sets the Koreans apart is their resilience and hard work. Working in harsh environments with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius in the middle of the desert during summer months, safety becomes critical. Korean managers conduct regular rounds on site, paying attention to detail and making sure the job is done the right way.
As you can see behind me, a Korean manager is heading the office with engineers from other developing countries. This is a very common sight now for Korean plant engineering companies in the Middle East.
I mean, since the oil boom that they saw back in 1970s in Saudi Arabia, there's been a growing number of Korean firms that's been dominating the Middle Eastern country. But like you've seen it for yourself, you've heard and you saw. Is it really that big?
It's a big huge deal, and Koreans have come a long way from the 70s and the 80s. A lot of the Koreans back then, 30 years ago, they were sent to the Middle East as manual laborers and just junior level engineers. And now Koreans are taking the role of a manager, and they're overseeing multi-million-dollar projects, acting as the manager of this whole deal.
And I'm sure you had a chance to talk to some of the workers there. What did they say?
Well, they had very positive reviews of the Korean managers, and they said they could learn a lot from the Korean work culture. The work culture of working hard, but treating everyone like family. So I learned a lot from them.
여기가 발전소 중앙 통제실이에요. 가솔린 들어가죠. 사막 한가운데 위치하기는 좀 힘든 상황.
여기는 사막
한가운데니까 큰 파이프 하나 보이는 것까지가 43.3m. 상차별로 설치 순서에 따라서
people know Hyundai Heavy Industries is now he is in Korea and he is too much.
I have completed the GTL project in Qatar first year.
Wow. Do you miss your home for holiday?
Every 6 months we are going.
Every 6 months.
This is the achievement.
Now, earlier on, we talked about how our fathers used to work in the Middle East as contractors, or they were participating in this sort of a huge project back in the 60s and 70s, and you talked about how it touched your heart. They have to be further away from their families and the challenges they had to face. I mean, what were some of the challenges that these workers had to face?
Well, when I met these people who are working at these plant sites, I've met people who just became a dad. I met some older people whose kids are all grown up. But one thing in common is that they need to make a huge sacrifice to be able to work in those harsh conditions. And one of the biggest emotional sacrifice they have to make is to be away from their families. Not seeing your child growing up, or not being there for their birthdays, or not being there for their wives when a new baby was born, or not being able to take care of family stuff. And it's true, when you're out there, you see nothing but the sand, humans, and flies. I'm serious, there's nothing there. And I was just there for a week, but imagine being there for 3 years without family. And but these are the sacrifices the Korean people were making in order to stay on top and become the #1 in the market. And
Another thing that really caught my attention was your picturesque stand-up on the desert.
Walking.
Yeah, it's not every day that we see someone doing a stand-up. How did that go? What was it like?
It was just amazing. Like the scenery was so breathtaking. I've never been to the Middle East in my life, and these sand dunes are huge. First I thought they were mountains, but they told me they were like mountains of sand. And what was even more amazing is that they actually paved a road. They literally like dig the sand for ages and days, and they can take down an entire sand dune, and they made a road on it. And this, the plant that I visited in Shah in the UAE, they constructed this plant literally in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert. There was like no water, no electricity, not even roads, and it was almost like a man-made marvel. And I was so, amazed as I was doing that stand-up. We traveled a little bit out, and then we went up to one of those sand dunes so we could overlook the plant site. And it took me several takes to get it right.
Yeah, I saw, several takes.
But it was totally worth it. Yeah.
We thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hear that you're going to turn this into a documentary soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. We're going to turn this story into a 30-minute documentary. So, we have a lot to tell, and these news packages are obviously not enough to fit everything in. So you guys should look out for a documentary airing next week.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to it. Thank you very much for that, Hanu, and of course our reporters for your great work this week. And I certainly look forward to hearing more from you next week.
Yay!
Yay. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Youngsters from countries without snow was given a rare chance to enjoy winter sports here in Korea this week. And Kim Hyun-bin was at the scene, and he filed this video clip from Pyeongchang, the host city of 2018 Winter Olympics.
Hey, what's going on, Xie? Yes, I am in Pyeongchang. I've been here for 3 days and worked on 2 stories, one of which is the DREAM program, where 166 participants from 40 countries are enrolled in the training camp in hopes to fulfill their dream of one day representing the country in the Winter Olympic Games. And the second story I worked on is the Special Olympics Media Day. That went on for 2 days. They gave us a special tour of all the facilities, and it's pretty much well built. It's all built, and they're just decorating the insides. And they told us about the upcoming events for the Special Olympics that's later on this month, which starts at January 29th till February 5th. Well, that is all I have for now. This was Kim Hyun-bin at Pyeongchang, and hope to see you guys soon.
영어로 하는 방송국, 잉글리시. 영어로 하는 방송은 몰라요?
사무장님, 예. 36개의 현재 파워스톤 운전 중이며 개통 경임 시간은
A power plant